Okay, now continuing from our previous session, in our previous session, we added the materials and you can see here we can see the steel reflection. We have added the background actual light also. But now the thing here is this, if I click on the sneak peek and if we see it in the web browser, this entire table appears to be floating. See, this is floating. We want to create some shadow and some add ground over here. So I will close the browser. So for this reason only we have created this sphere. We have right now disabled it, enable this sphere both in the render view and in the viewport view. Now this you can see this sphere appearing, and now if I click on the sneak peek, you can see here actually it is on the ground, but the problem is you can see the shadow is not clear. You are seeing this shadow to be it's not very clear. So to make it appear correct, I will close this. So if this to make this shadow appear, the first thing we have to do is we have to actually go to the render setting here, not output. In render properties, you will have an option here and we have to enable shadows here. So here in the render engine, if I scroll down, you have Verge 3D settings. Okay, I will open up this Verge 3D setting, and inside this you have an option to enable shadows. This has to be enabled. If I switch it on and if I see the sneak peek, you can see no shadow is appearing as of now. Okay, so I have to enable this shadow, leave all other things as default, and the second thing is I will come to this sphere object, and in object properties here I have to see that I have to switch it off. And the next part that we have to now do is this shadow, whatever we are seeing, is not appearing correctly. So to cast this shadow, we are actually using a lamp. Your project file has already got a lamp, and we are using this lamp to cast the shadow. Now, if you select this lamp, come to the lamp settings here, and in lamp setting, even here you have an option shadow. If I switch this off and if I see the sneak peek, no shadow will appear. Okay, I will switch on this shadow, open this shadow option, and right now here if you see the values, so now inside this shadow, if you see the value, now if I open this cascaded shadow map, here you have a maximum distance set to some 1000 units. Reduce this and say I will make it around 20. Change this to around 20, and now if you see the sneak peek, now you can see the shadow is appearing somewhat closer. You can see the shadow here. Now the shadow is somewhat better, but still there are some problem in this shadow. So to rectify this, now let us actually fine tune this. So to fine tune this, I will just close this now. First of all, I will reduce the strength of this light. Right now it is 10. I will make the intensity of this light 1. And then if I see the sneak peek, okay, now once I reduce the intensity, now this shadow appears somewhat better. Okay, so this shadow is appearing somewhat better. So after reducing the value to 1, the next thing is, if you come down here, you have one more option here called as contact shadows. I will switch on this contact shadow. You have one option here called as bias. So set this bias value to around 4. And then you have some parameters here. If you want, you can tweak it and you can just see, I'll change the distance to around 0.4. and if I see the sneak peek now, so you can now see the shadow appears a little better. So with these settings done, okay, we find that these settings to be better. One last thing is, let us increase the intensity to around 1.7 instead of 1. And now again let us check it with the sneak peek. Okay, this appears to be fine. Now close this browser, come to file and choose save, and then go to file, export, and export Works 3D, and save this file. And after you save it, now come back to your that is app manager, and in app manager click on this Works 3D icon, and now this is the final output we are seeing, and this appears to be fine. This is somewhat fine. Okay, with this let us close this window, and with this let us end this session of shadow management. So continuing from our next section, here in this part what we are now going to do is, so now if you see the sneak peek here, and when we turn around you can see this background moving around. Okay, you have this background structure moving. I want this background to be a steady background without these movements. I doesn't want this movement of the background to appear. So for this, what we are going to do is, now we are going to work with this sphere material. So for this, let us close this. Now come back here to the shading part, and in the shading part, now what we are going to do is, let us come back here from world to object mode. And in object mode, when we are in the object mode, I am now going to come here and I will select the sphere. And actually for the sphere, we have not added any material as of now. This sphere doesn't have any material added. So if you come here and select the sphere, and if you see the material, no material has been added to it as of now. So now what we are now going to do is, we are going to add a new material to this sphere. So come to shading, click on new, and I am going to call this as sphere material. So I will give it a name as sphere material. And after this, in this material, when you add a new material, automatically the material that you add will be a principal BSDF material output. So we doesn't want this. We call BSDF stands for bidirectional scattering distribution function. We call this as bidirectional scattering distribution function. This implies a very complicated optical mathematics. We are not going to discuss about this right now. What we want is, instead of this principal BSDF, I'll come over here and press Shift plus A, and I'm going to add a new shader, and the shader I'm going to add is an emission shader. I will add an emission shader. Now I will select this principal BSDF and I will press X and delete it off. And then I will connect this emission to this surface. So when I connect emission to this surface, and if I come to the default view, now you can see the entire background is very brightly lit. So the next thing is, I am going to reduce its intensity. I will come back to shading here, and I will reduce the intensity of this emission. I will make it something like 0.5. And then if I come to the default view and if I see this, now I will go to file, click save, and if I click on sneak peek now, and if I see it, see the background is fine. The background is plain. It is appearing, it is not moving, it is plain, everything is fine. But the only issue now I have is, the shadow has disappeared. We have to reclaim this shadow. So now what we are going to do is, I will close this. So the principle we are going to use here is, see, for example, we have this sphere. Okay, so we have this sphere here, and this sphere, if I see it in the front view, this entire sphere that we are seeing, actually this entire sphere is added with our material, that is the emission material. Now what I want is, instead of applying this emission material to this entire sphere, I want only the area that is present below this table to not have this emission material. So for this, we are going to make use of a technique called masking. And for masking, if you come to the content that has been given to you, have one ground mask. So if I double click this ground mask and if I open it, you can see this is a gradient from black to white. And we are going to make use of this as a mask to mask the emission material. How we are going to do this is, I will close this, I will come back to Blender. So for this, what I am going to do is, in this shader, I will press Shift A, and now I am going to come to texture and I am going to add an image texture. And in this image texture, I will click on open and I will select this ground mask file. So I will select this ground mask file and click open image. And now what I will do is, I will link this ground mask image to the surface over here. So when I link this surface, if you come to the default view, you can now see this mask applied on the ground like this. You can see the mask applied over here. However, now this mask is applied as an image. Now what we want is, in the black area of this screen, we doesn't want the emission texture or the emission environment to apply over here, and it has to apply only in the white area. So to do this, we will again come back to shading now. Now here I am going to add a shader mixer. So how we are going, we have one emission and we have one ground mask. So what I am now going to do is, again press Shift plus A here, and coming to texture over here, or in shader, you have one option called mix shader. I will choose this mix shader here, and in this mix shader, for this factorial value, I am going to connect this ground mask to this factorial value over here. I will remove from the source, and this mix shader will be connected to this surface. So when I connect it in this way, and then what I am going to now do is, I will select the emitter. If I come to the default view and if I have a look at it, so right now we are not seeing anything because I haven't applied any shader here. So I will select this emission shader and I will connect it to one shader over here. So when I connect it and come to the default view, you can see the emission shader is applied only to the area below the table. But I want this to be reversed. This should be applied except this area. In all other areas it has to be applied. So for this I will again come back to the shader, and instead of connecting it here, I will connect it to the another pin, and if I come to default, you can see the emission shader is applied everywhere except at the bottom of the table. And for the bottom of the table, I will come back to shader and I am going to create another actually material. And the material I am going to create is, I will right click here or I will press Shift plus A, come to shader, and I am going to choose the regular principal BSDF, the regular one that is the material, and I am going to attach this material. Okay, let us rearrange this a little. I'll keep emission to the bottom, and I will connect this principal BSDF to the shader over here. And now if I come to the default view, now what is happening is, now if I come and see the sneak peek, and in the sneak peek now you can see the shadow is visible. Okay, we are seeing the shadow because this area of material is principal BSDF, and all other area has the emission shader. So with this, we have reclaimed our shadow, and also we have added a simple emission shader so that the entire background appears plain like this with a small spotlight like illumination on the table. So this is fine. Okay, this is fine. So with this, let us now go to file and choose save, and also go to file export and export the Works 3D GLTF file. Click export here. Now come back to app manager, click on this Works 3D icon, and this is what the display we are seeing. So this is fine. So with this, we will conclude this session and let us continue with in our next session.